All right. It looks like we're live here, right, Steve?
Yes, we are. Welcome, Alvin.
Oh,
You're the pilot, and we're about to put the trays up and the seats back. Welcome to TMI Business Networking, and Alvin, your host. This is Kimbrough, the sidekick. Alvin, what do we got? What do we have cracking today?
well, first I'd like to let folks know why you got a green screen up there. Okay, because like right now I know you're having technical problems, so but that's okay. As long as we hear your voice, that's good. So I understand. Steve actually put me inside the pilot seat. So Curtis, hold on. So if there's some bumps, you know what's going on. Ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen, I'm excited to do this is our second show. I am honored to be here with a good friend of mine. We've known each other for over 30 some odd years. Ladies and gentlemen, you're meeting Mr. Curtis Simon, the president of HBCU Go. But I'm going to tell you who this brother is. When I met this brother was the vice president of marketing for BET. This is a dynamic conversation we're going to have. You're going to hear a lot of things that we've been through, what we've done together. And I watched Curtis Simon uh, go all around the world to build empires. And now building HBC going, and the next level is going to Curtis. What's going on, brother?
Hey, Al, it's a pleasure to be with you and Steve, man. I'm sorry we can't get Steve on the air since he's right behind doing all the technical stuff, but it's always a pleasure to be with you, my brother, so we can rock and roll.
No doubt about it. Curtis, the reason why I asked you to be on this show because I've been watching you build HBCU Go, brother. You were building that when nobody was listening to you.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was listening to you. And now Byron Allen, am I right?
Yep.
Byron
Yes.
Allen came in, a powerhouse, recognized you. I know a lot of y'all travel in the same circle, but Curtis, persistence is what it takes. And I watched what you did with HBCU Go. So I'm very proud of you. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit on how we know each other, and we're going to really take it into how we're going to do business. And and everyone that watched this podcast understand it's all about doing business. So when I bring all the people I know, I'm bringing the top of the line to the table so folks can get access to you. As you can see, Curtis, we got the email, we got the phone number at the bottom. So we're not trying to hide you, and you're not trying to hide from anybody because that's just not your style. So let's get into it. First of all, Curtis and we met over 30 some odd years ago, and it was because of my mother, right, Curtis?
Yes, sir.
My mother started doing Black College bus tours, and she said, Alvin, why don't you see if we can stop by BET? I said, okay. I called up BET, and that's when Curtis Simon and I became good friends. And my mother fell in love with you, Curtis, as I tell you all the time. It's because to have an executive, the VP of marketing, to greet her kids on these bus tours every year was a blessing to see a young man take time out to talk to people. And Curtis, you would bring us in, put us in the big boardroom. You remember?
Mm-hmm.
The big boardroom.
I remember all those times, man. We had good sessions, very good
Yes.
sessions.
Then you would take us in the studio. You remember?
Yep.
You took us to the studio. You changed a lot of people's lives because they got to see a black executive sitting down talking to them, talking to the guy at BET. That changed a lot of young people's lives. And that's what you've done. And my mother always said, how you doing, baby? I'm doing good, Mrs. Brown. She loved you so much. I needed the world to understand how much love you give. Because sometimes when you become that executive, folks don't feel you can talk to them. You've always shared that.
I appreciate that.
But then, it gets even better. Curtis, you remember we did inner city games with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that very well.
Oh, you remember that? Let me show you what Curtis Simons did. I got a contract to work with Arnold Schwarzenegger in New York City for 3 years with the inner city game. So Calvin Klein, you remember the Calvin Klein?
Calvin Klein, wow.
Calvin Klein came in and put out close to $1 million worth of merchandise and T-shirts.
Right.
But the big kickoff, Curtis, again, and I thank you for being there. When we were announcing it at the Hard Rock Cafe, I made sure that BET got positioned to get interviewed with Arnold because that was the premiere of Arnold Schwarzenegger playing in the movie Batman as
Batman.
Mr. Freeze. You remember?
Right. Right.
So you
Exactly.
know, Curtis, you know, a lot of times when they release these movies, they don't let black people get to the front, black media get to the front of the line.
Right.
We made sure that BET was at the front of the line and they got Arnold Schwarzenegger's interview right up front.
Yep.
And
that
put
was
the
good
stage
stuff.
in. Yes.
That was some good stuff.
That was
great.
Good stuff. So I wanted folks to understand that, you know, you're not this stuck-up brother. You build a basketball city. You did a lot of stuff with young kids in the community. Your heart is there. So I wanted folks to understand, and I'll give you the floor to explain to folks that, you know, this brother does not stop. So Curtis, just tell us what's going on, brother.
Well, you know, I really do appreciate this time, Al. It's been a good stretch, man. You've known me through my great life at ESPN and BT, and now we're jumping into a new life of HBCU Go TV. And as you said, when I left BT in 01, jumped around a few different things, but one thing that's always been in my blood is HBCUs. And I went on a mission to try to create a network around historical black colleges and universities. And I struggled for 12 years in trying to get anybody to bite the dollar for me and help me out, support me. And luckily, a year ago, Byron Allen stepped up and, bought my company. And it changed my world because I finally had the support system in place to help me grow HBCU Go. And it has been a tremendous, tremendous timing because it comes, in my opinion, everything is all about God's blessing. It's all about stepping in the right shoes at the right time. And I just happen to be able to step in those shoes and live out a second dream of doing something in the black community, especially with historical black college university, because the big thing about HBCU Go is educating our young people on the history, the value, the legacy of black colleges. I was just watching the show, movie yesterday with a friend of mine in Ohio, and it always cringes me when I see the movie Hidden Figures, which talks about Katherine Johnson, the lady who went to West Virginia State, and behind the scenes was the eyes and ears for John Glenn, which a lot of people didn't know much about. Katherine Johnson, because you never heard the story. But that's all the history about what's going on at HBCUs that a lot of young people don't know the behind the scenes. So that was a good thing to see. The other thing is that the anchor behind black colleges is black college sports, as I see it's popped up on the screen here. And our goal is to basically be the place to see all black college sports, not just football, basketball, everything from Olympic sports to all the different sports that are out there in the circle. And the network, we've now gotten the SWAC under our belt. We had a 10-year deal with SWAC. We're getting a deal done with CIAA. We're working on a deal with MEAC, and we're working on a deal with SIC. So by hopefully end of March, we will have all these guys lined up and we will be controlling black college sports, which is a big, big step in my opinion. But really, the other great thing about the network is all about trying to get young people involved in creating content for the network, because we're looking at creating lifestyle programming, educational programming that is really speaking and talking to that HBCU community, from the alumni base to the students, to the high schools students, that can understand, again, that value of what HBCUs bring to the table. Because you can't appreciate an HBCU until you step on the campus. That's the only time you really get the real flavor for it. When you just kind of read the brochure, you're like, no, I don't think this is where I need to go to a PWI. Well, I graduated from Central State University as a PE major, and I sit in 4 Hall of Fames right now. And, it's not about where you come from. It's all about what you do with it. And that's really the big message that we want to drive with HBCU Go. Is what do you do with that education? Because God has a place for you if you do the right things.
I noticed, Curtis, just to jump in, Curtis, you hit the nail on the head, and you're making it a reality. When we used to do our bus tours, and we're bringing them back, they're doing better, and we're looking to work with you doing them as well. But Curtis, you said something that's very important. The quality of the university. I believe even our community really don't understand the quality. I went to Norfolk State, Spartan all the way. So, so I pity your college, but that's okay.
I got you.
But but what's happening here? I think a lot of people of color don't understand the quality. Going to Norfolk State or North Carolina. Just all the different schools, that's just as good as going to any Harvard, Yale, or Princeton. I'm gonna call it, brother.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call it.
You're right.
I think we push the Yales, the Princeton, and all of that, but the great minds are coming out of HBCUs.
No question.
Not only that, you tapped into the sports. Where Christine, who's your assistant, who's a dynamic young lady, made an emphasis. She said, look, now you can be home watching your child play on a major network, watching your young adult cheerleading. That's an impact.
Yeah.
That's an impact. And that's why we're doing this on LinkedIn, because you have all of these executives. You know where I'm going with this, Curtis. You got all these executives. They're trying to find out, well, where do we go? How do we really tap into the quality of different avenues of dealing with people of color?
Right.
HBCU Go is a quality network.
Yep.
And that's what I want you to drive home, Curtis, because you and I, we're about business. Drive it home. If they want to do business, this is where they need to come.
Well, I think that's one of the beauties of being underneath AMG and Byron Allen's company, because he drives that nail hard. It's just quality. And that's what we bring to the table. And we also are educating more sponsors on doing business within the HBCU. So not just buying spots and dots, but really putting a true effort in supporting what these universities are all about. And that's one of the big messages I give Byron credit for, because he really drives that in-house with us. He takes it to the street, and he convinces more and more advertisers that you need to be in bed with us for the following reasons. Because here's what we bring, we think is important to our community. And that's really what it's all about. And when you're ever able to start driving that message, it really starts growing and resonating to where you just keep making good progress with it. And so that's one of our big goals, is to continue to drive more and more advertisers in the place to understand what we're doing with this channel.
And also, Curtis, is a kept secret in a sense. I don't think America really understands. You got more white folks than everybody else go to HBCU, but they keep it quiet.
Yeah.
They're going to HBCUs.
Well, that's a big thing now.
That's a big thing.
A lot of it's not just African Americans just going to HBCUs, but you have a lot of non-African Americans now coming. Because you look at some of the sports that are not real, African American sports like volleyball, tennis. Schools are recruiting these kids to come in, and kids are coming and getting a quality education and being good athletes. So what's wrong with that?
Ain't nothing wrong with it. And
nothing wrong with it.
It's nothing wrong with it. And these are things that I love that you're driving home, Curtis. One more thing too, because we keep this stuff short, but again, we like to hit it home.
No, I appreciate it.
At the end of the day, what are you going after? What do you need so that when folks reach out to you to do some business with you, I remember Christine said there was two things that we definitely need to talk about. Was on demand, the services, the on demand service that you have, and also Who runs the yard? You want to drop a little information on that?
Well, our on-demand service that we have, which is part of our OTT platform, is basically where we can move programming over from our HBCU platform over to our on-demand that you can grab and see it running several, like our sports. We run a lot of our sports on on-demand. Those games continue to repeat. So if you missed the game, you can definitely be able to see it. And we add more and more programming on it, so it becomes almost like a full channel at the end of the day. And that's really big because when, what we're finding, schools are playing, for example, on the sports side, and the kids want to see themselves play. So now they can go to the on-demand channel and see the replay of the game and enjoy the game. And,
nice.
And that's really the big thing. And then the other thing you touched on is that we're coming out with another brand that I think is going to be really a monster called Who Runs the Yard. And Clint Evans and Shannon Henderson and Christine are big proponents who really built this concept. And it is a great concept because every yard is different. And we kicked it off last weekend in Prairie View. Christine, who you've been talking to, my sister, was out there with Shannon. And, it was all about trying to get the Greeks involved in putting butts in the seats and who's going to bring the biggest numbers. And we did a great job with it. And I think if we can spread that brand, this year in 23-24, I foresee it being a really real icon that these kids are going to gravitate to, and we're really going to be able to grow this brand to another level.
One more thing too. I heard that you're coming out with an app.
Yes, we're rolling out with a new app that should be out around August that will incorporate a lot of our game stuff on and, be targeted to all the different schools that we have on the air. And I think it's going to be a unique app that's being designed by TD Steels out of our shop. I think it's going to have a concept that people are going to really, because today's, students and alumni, everybody's tied to technology. Everybody's tied to their phones and all that. So if we can add a great app to be tied to our content, I think it's going to be special. And I think we got something as brewing that's going to be real unique come August.
Hey, Steve, can you bring us back to full screen? If you're still there, Steve, if you could bring us back so we can close out the show. I wanted Curtis to see my good-looking face one more time.
Always for you, Al. Always for you, Al.
No, Curtis, I love you a lot. Okay, so why don't we do this, Curtis? First of all, I want to thank you very much. Like I said before, you and I, we talk constantly. And those, Curtis, I tell everyone to say this. Curtis knows I will call you, right, Curtis?
Mm-hmm. Yes, you will. Yes, you will. All the way.
I will call you at any time. And I know you got some big dreams going on. So, Curtis, listen, it's been an excitement. I'm hoping that folks really see that we have the opportunity of, we're going to be working together, but also what that does, that allows us the opportunity for other folks to work along with you. So I'm excited about that as well. So, hey, Steve, I'm not sure if you're still there, but what we're going to do is, there you go. So now I want you to see my pretty face, Curtis.
I appreciate
that. So again, we always thank you. I love you very much.
Same here, man. Doing a good job.
Bringing more advertisers to you.
Appreciate
all right, then. And you got family here. Ladies again, once again, you're meeting Curtis Simon, president, founder, legend-making person from HBCU Go, former vice president of BET, entrepreneur. You can get it right here, support at hbcu.tv, right?
Yeah.
And the telephone number, 310-277-3500. Curtis Simon, we want to thank you very much.
Thank you, Al. Thank you and Steve for this great opportunity, man. Keep up the good work, brother.
Let me see. Hold on a second. And good day, y'all. I'm doing this. Steve let me fly. I'm flying. So let me see if I can finish this thing.
You're doing a good job, man. Alvin. You're doing a good job.
Oh, now he's back. All
Steve,
right.
thanks a lot, Steve. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah,
All
thank you,
right.
Curtis, Mr. Simon. I appreciate you.
All right, guys. Take care. Be have a good weekend.
Hold on, Kurt.